the mother. Of this 200 to 300 million, they said eventually at the meeting point only 1,000 or so survived. And then on that egg, there are 60,000 different codes. Only one of these sperms have the matching 60,000 codes. So the process of matching starts taking place. If any of the codes don't match, that sperm is rejected. One after the other, after the other, after the other. 60,000 different codes in a space smaller, so tiny, a cell that is so tiny that it is not visible to the human eye. Where is this taking place? Is it some conducive circumstance? Is it some laboratory? No. Fi butuni ummahatikum, in the womb of your mothers. Is the lighting good? Is the temperature conducive? Is the environment stable? No. Fi dhulumatin talaq, in 3 layers of darkness. This process of matching is taking place. Scientists say that if the same process had to occur in a laboratory, and you had zoology experts and genetic scientists devoted exclusively to this task of carrying out this matching process to see which of the 60,000 different codes are matched on one sperm, it will take 2.5 years. 2.5 years for those scientists to do what happens in the space of 2 or 3 hours in the womb of your mothers in 3 layers of darkness. Finally, when the one match occurs, then too there is a pause waiting for the command. If Allah from above His arsh sends down the command, mukhallaqa, takhliq must take place, creation must occur, then only it will continue. Otherwise, if the command comes, ghayru mukhallaqa, takhliq must not take place. And even despite the match occurring, that sperm also will be rejected. Allah from above His arsh issues the command, mukhallaqa, takhliq must occur. The first thing that is formed in this human being is the heart. That is why it is said every person's heart is 4 months older than the rest of his body. Everything else starts forming after that. First is the heart, and without the ruh also, without the soul, this heart starts beating. The ruh and the soul only comes 120 days later. How many women at any given time are pregnant? How many animals, how many birds, how many insects, how many eggs, how many fish, millions and millions and millions of creations of Allah. At any given time, takhliq is occurring. Allah's sifat, Allah's quality of Khaliq, that Allah is the creator, is exhibiting itself. Allah is Bari. What is Bari? Insan claims that I manufacture, I produce. In order to produce, insan requires the raw material. Without raw material, he cannot produce anything. Allah is said that Allah produces, but what is the raw material? Nothingness. From nothingness, Allah brings into existence. There wasn't one blade of grass, Allah brought the trees into existence. There wasn't one grain of sand, Allah brought the desert into existence. There wasn't one drop of water, Allah brought the oceans into existence. There wasn't one wisp of air, Allah brought the raging tornadoes into existence. Allah is Bari, Allah creates, but Allah's raw material is nothing. From nothingness Allah brings into existence. Min nutfa, Allah says, think, ponder, where did you come from? Min nutfa, from a drop of sperm. Somewhere Allah says, min ma'in dafiq, from a spurt of liquid. Somewhere Allah says, min ma'in mahin, from a drop of worthless fluid. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا ثُمَّ أَنشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. Allah says, verily we created this insan from an extract of clay. From an extract of clay he was made into a drop of sperm in a safe receptacle. From a drop of sperm into a clot of blood. From a clot of blood into a lump of flesh. That lump of flesh was given bones. Stage upon stage of creation. وَقَدْ خَلَقَكُمْ أَطْوَارًا. Stage upon stage of creation. And what at one time was one cell. 9 months later is brought forth 6 billion times heavier, 100 million times bigger, the paragon of Allah's creation, this insan, ashraful makhluqat, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Allah says we created you in the best of forms, one cell, 9 months later, where? In the womb of your mother, in 3 layers of darkness, stage upon stage of creation, absolute perfection, total proportion. الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك. ألم نخلقكم من ماء مهين ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين. Stage upon stage of creation, this paragon, the height of Allah's creation is brought forth 9 months later. فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. Blessed is Allah who is the best of creators. This cell, the starting point, the building block of this insan is so tiny. It can't be seen by the naked eye. He said inside the cell, 1 millionth the size of the cell is the DNA. The DNA is made up of 3.5 billion nucleotides, 3.5 billion characteristics. To record the information contained in the DNA of one human being, you will need 500 encyclopedias, each one 900 pages long. It is said the combined wisdom, the wisdom contained in one cell of this human being is more than the accumulated knowledge of the entire human race. وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ. Look at the manner in which Allah invites you, Allah calls out to you. Ponder, reflect, realize the gain, the favor of your Allah upon you. وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ. Allah took you out of the womb of your mothers. لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. You had no knowledge. What was the margin for error? In the development of the species, what is the margin for error? Scientists say, if an error has to occur, to what extent? They say if you take 1 second, divided into 100 million parts. To that extent, if an error has to occur, then the eyeballs, instead of being on the face, will end up beneath the feet. How many millions of women fetus is formed in any given time? How many millions of animals, millions of fish, millions of birds, millions of insects? Allah is controlling all this. Allah's qudrat, Allah's power is muheet, encompasses every aspect of His creation. To such an extent, لَا يَعْزُبُ عَنْ رَبِّكَ مِنْ مِثْقَالِ ذَرَّةٍ. Not one atom is hidden from the knowledge of Allah at any given time. مَا هُمْ بِمُعْجِزِينَ. Nothing is beyond the power of Allah. مَا مَسَّنَا مِنْ لُغُوبٍ. Allah doesn't get tired. I need a sabbatical, I need a holiday. I'm going to relax for a couple of days. لَا يَعُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. Controlling the heavens and the earth and the multitudes of Allah's creation does not tire Allah. لَا تَأْخُذُهُ السِّنَةُ وَلَا نَوْمٌ. Allah does not sleep, Allah does not doze off. مَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. Allah does not forget anything. لَا يَضِلُّ رَبِّي. Allah does not make mistakes. لَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا. Allah is not ghafil or negligent of any of His creation. لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. Allah says you knew nothing. وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ. We gave you the ability to see, the ability to speak, the ability to hear. We gave you a heart and a mind. Just the speaking, my thought processes are being transformed into words which is not visible. It's brought onto my tongue in the form of electrical impulses. My tongue is moving. If it were not for the wind of Allah, if it were not for the wind of Allah, I can talk from now till Qiyamah, you will hear nothing. What I am uttering is carried on the shoulders, on the back of the shoulders of Allah's wing. In each ear, there are 100,000 receptors for sound. 100,000 telephones in each ear. These sound waves hit the ear, the back of the ear is the inner ear, the cochlea. Inside it is a harp-like object, musical instrument, a harp. Something that looks like that. It has 6,000 different strings. Each of those strings vibrate to a different frequency of sound, so that this human being is able to hear a variation of 6,000 different frequencies of sound. Next to that are 3 bones. Hammer, stirrup and anvil. These bones have a certain shape and a certain size that is conducive to their function. What is their function? To magnify the sound waves. They have to be that shape, that size, and in that position to do this task. So that the child is born, those 3 bones are there in the ear. As the child grows, the fingers grow, the hands grow, the feet grow, the heart grows, the lung grows, the liver grows, every organ in the body of the child grows, but these 3 bones do not grow. They stay the same size in the child and the same size in a 50-year-old person. Why? Because it needs to be that size for it to carry out its task. It magnifies the sound waves, hitting that harp. Then the harp starts moving. The sound waves, having been magnified, are carried to 18,000 nerve cells at the back of the ear, which then transmit the message to the brain at the speed of 124 miles per second. The brain then interprets what I am saying, and you are able to understand. 3 layers of darkness in the womb of your mothers. Allah's charisma, Allah's qudrat, Allah's power. Where in that drop of sperm was the ability to speak of insan? Where in that drop of sperm was the ability to hear? How many countless different balances have to be in place for this insan to exist? Allah calls out to you, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. Look within yourself. Every aspect of your existence is an invitation for you to recognize your law. This area breathing, this insan breathes in and out. What is his contribution to the atmosphere? He breathes in purity, oxygen. He breathes out carbon dioxide, poison. His contribution is poison. Allah has put the leaves of the trees into the service of this insan to produce the oxygen. So that the conducive level 21% is maintained. If it had to go up 2% to 23%, it is said the number of accidental fires will increase 700 times. If it had to go up another 2%, 25%, besides the North Pole and the South Pole, everything else in between would be burned to ashes. Where's the funnel? Where's the regulator? Where's the valve? Open atmosphere, 21%. Centuries have passed, still the level is being maintained. You're breathing in and out 20,000 times every day subconsciously. Each human being consumes 8,000 liters of oxygen every day. Inside is the lung. The lung has 150 million air sacs. It is said if those air sacs have to be opened up, it will fill an entire football field. There are 50 billion tubes carrying 10,000 liters of blood every day to those lungs. Where in the drop of sperm, where in the womb of the mother did this intelligence come that in order to purify your blood, you need to give it a bath in a bath of oxygen? Where did the system come into place in order to facilitate that? So that every time you breathe in and out, every hour, every breath that you take is a living, constant reminder to you, recognize the favor of your Allah upon you. Every breath of air is the deen of Allah upon you. Every aspect of the ability to urinate. Once Harun Rashid is sitting with Muhammad bin Simak rahmatullahi muhaddith. Harun Rashid says to him, "Ilzni, advise me, give me nasihat." Who is Harun Rashid? Khalifa. What is the extent of his kingdom? 3 continents, one person ruling 3 continents. From Baghdad to Kashmir, Baghdad to southern France, Baghdad to Portugal, Baghdad to Istanbul, Baghdad to Rome, Baghdad to Senegal in northern Africa. One ruler. One day he sees a rain cloud, he says, "Umturi, haythu shit, wa sayujba ilayya farajuki." Rain wherever you want, your rain will still be in the kingdom of Harun. Such a ruler. He says to Muhammad bin Simak, "Ilzni, give me nasihat." Muhammad bin Simak says to him, "Harun, you are in the desert, you are hunting, you get separated from your party. The hot sun of the desert bearing down upon you, you reach the brink of starvation. You are thirsty, you are gasping for life. Someone comes, he offers you a glass of water. What will you pay for that glass of water?" Harun Rashid without hesitation says, "U'tihi nisfa mulki, I will give him half my kingdom." He says, "You took the water, you drank it, then the water got stuck in your gullet. It got stuck in your system, refused to come out. You are writhing in pain. In agony, excruciating agony. Someone comes to you and says, I'll be able to relieve you and cause you to urinate. What will you give him?" He says, "U'tihi nisfa mulki, I will give him half my kingdom." Then Muhammad bin Simak smiles at him and he says, "Inna mulkan, qimatu nisfihi al-shurba, wa qimatu nisfihi al-bawla, la qaliqul alla yutanafas fi." O Harun, a kingdom, half of which is equal to a bowl of water, and half of which is equal in value to a bowl of urine. How is it that you disobey Allah in seeking such a kingdom? What is the value of this dunya? Nothing. One ni'mat of Allah, one relative had an operation. They told him he must lie still for 6 hours. Because the wound is still fresh. The stitches may suture, may open up, and bleeding will start. So lie still. 1 hour passes, 2 hours pass, 3 hours pass. This person is writhing in pain. I have to turn. What they say, go to karwat badalna. Just the ability to turn is a ni'mat of Allah. Eventually he says, I don't care if I die also, I'm going to turn. One elderly person went to the doctor. He couldn't urinate. The doctor put the instrument. The person was able to relieve himself. Then the doctor presented his bill. The old man looking at the bill, he starts crying. The doctor feels perhaps he can't afford it, so he says, "Okay, this is on the house, I won't charge you." He says, "I'm not crying because I can't afford to pay your bill." "Why are you crying?" He says, 70 years, there was one Zat and one being that did this work for me and never charged me. Today an insan is doing it, already he wants payment. One ni'mat of Allah, one bounty of Allah, we can't even imagine. Allah in His Quran, 5 qasams, 5 oaths. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقْعًا فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. 5 oaths Allah takes by the qasam of the panting horse as it strives, by the oath of the spark which emanates from its hoof as its hoof strikes the ground, by the oath of the rising dust as it runs towards your enemy, by the oath of the horse that is taken in the morning and is ridden towards the enemy, فَوَسَّطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا, by the oath of the horse that is thrown right into the center of the battle lines of your enemy. 5 oaths, 5 qasams of a horse that is used in war, in battle. And then what does Allah say? إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُونَ. That on insan you are very, very ungrateful. What is the connection between a horse which is used in a battle and insan's ingratitude? Allah is calling out to your aql, to your intelligence, that horse. What is it given? What is the ihsan of the insan upon it? Some hay, some fodder, a little bit of food. In return for that, that horse puts its life in danger for its master. The horse does not say to the master, that is your enemy, is not my enemy, why should I risk my life? Without question, this horse flings itself into the battlefield, flings itself in the face of peril and danger, terminates its life because of that little hay and fodder that this insan is giving. Allah says, when a horse realizes that I have to be the slave of the one who makes ihsan upon me, innal insana li rabbihi lakanun. Insan, where is your aql? Where is your intelligence? Why are you so ungrateful to your Allah? In Japan, outside one station, there is a statue of a dog. The history behind it is there was a Japanese university lecturer. Every day he would go to the varsity taking the train. He would return back. His train would come in at 3 o'clock, so his dog would leave the house every day at 2:45 to meet him at the station. And then the dog would accompany him back home. One day while he was at the university, he had a heart attack and he died. At 2:45, the dog leaves the house, goes to the station, waiting for the master. 3 o'clock train comes in, obviously he's not there, he's dead. The dog waits till sunset. Then dejectedly, sadly, with its tail between its legs, the dog goes back home. It is said the next day at 2:45, this dog went back to the station to wait for its master. For the next 9 years, till this dog died, every day it went to the station to wait for its master. They erected a statue of this dog in order to commemorate the spirit of servitude and bondsmanship and slavery that is found in an animal. Insan is supposed to have superior intellect. Insan's aql and intelligence is supposed to be greater. What price are you going to put on the favors of Allah? What price tag are you going to put on the deen of Allah upon you? Every aspect of the existence of this insan is a living testimony, is a living pukar, is a living call to him. Recognize the favor of your Allah upon you. Minimum government stipulated wage in South Africa is 10.56. I don't know what it is here in England. That laborer in a factory is paid minimum government stipulated wage, and his boss thereafter has the authority to question him. Why you came late? Why you came early? What you did? Why you spent your time? Why you so lazy? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? He has that authority to question him. Why? Because of that stipend of a wage that he is paid. What price tag are you going to put on the favors of Allah? These eyes, it is said 1 millimeter of the eye is taking 1 millimeter of the eye can accept 30,000 separate points of light in 1 second. Every second these eyes are taking 8 three-dimensional pictures, 800,000 pictures every day. At the back of the eye is a hole. What's the size of the hole? 1/4 millimeter. Through that hole a cable is passing. That cable has 1.3 million wires. 1/4 millimeter at the back of the eye, a cable with 1.3 million wires, without sparking, without friction. If that had to take place, everything will appear upside down. At the back of the eye is a retina. Every time an image is formed, the muscles of the eye flex to clear the retina, preparing it for the next image. This flexing takes place on average 100,000 times every day. If the same muscles that will be put into your feet, it is the equivalent of walking 80 kilometers every day. Let the mountains of this world be turned into gold. Let the mountains of this world be turned into gold. And you make the owner of it. Go into the marketplace. Let the blind man go into the marketplace and tell him to buy one eye. Purchase one eye. Put the scientists of this world, with all the technology that is available today at their disposal, throw money at them, throw billions of dollars at them, and tell them, make me one eye. They will not be able to produce 1 millimeter of an eye. Look, minimum government stipulated wages. You command that person, you address that person, you question that person, you hold him to task, you hold him responsible. The caller of Allah 5 times a day is calling out to you. What is your response? You ask someone who is a zalim, who is an oppressor, they say a rapist is an oppressor, a looter is an oppressor, a thief is an oppressor, one who usurps the rights of others is an oppressor. But what did Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say? He said, Al-Jafa, Al-Jafa, Kull Al-Jafa. He said, Zalim, sabse badi zalim. The greatest oppressor of my ummah is who? Man sami'an nida, man sami'an nida, falam yujib. That person who heard the call of Allah calling out to salah and did not respond. He is the greatest oppressor. Which ni'mat and bounty of your Allah are you going to put a price tag upon? Which favor and bounty of your Allah are you going to reject? Why does Allah says, وَأَسْبَغَ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَهُ ظَاهِرَةً وَبَاطِنًا. We have rained down our bounties upon you. ظَاهِرَةً وَبَاطِنَةً. Those that are apparent and those that are hidden. So many ni'mat, so many bounties. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. Allah says if you have to enumerate, if you have to count, if you have to ponder, if you have to reflect over one ni'mat of Allah, you will not be able to do so. Every aspect of your existence is the deen of Allah, is the favor of Allah upon you. That is why Allah calls out, Ya ayyuhal insan. Ya ayyuhal insan, ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. Wallahi, it is impossible in any language to do justice to the translation or to even express an iota of the shafqat and compassion that is contained in this expression, Ya ayyuhal insan. And Khaliq-e-Kainat, Allah calls out, understand it by way of an example. A hive, a beehive that is brimming over with honey. And the little droplets of honey, tup, 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 are dripping onto the ground. Just the sight of that causes the sweetness and saliva to brim in the mouth with its sweetness and its attraction. This will give us some idea of the extent of compassion, kindness and sweetness that is contained in this expression. When Allah calls out, Oh my banda, Oh my slave, Oh my insan, Ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. What has put you into a deception about your Allah? Who is kareem, who is generous, alladhi khalaqaka